Good morning from Simply Media. Today we're talking about Charlie Baker, the most popular governor in the United States by polls of the citizens of their states. What's interesting is that Charlie is a Republican and is the governor of Massachusetts, a deep blue state. What's interesting about it, what's more, is those people that know Elizabeth Warren re-elected her to Congress, basically to speak and present ideas and so forth, being a Democrat, which Massachusetts is. She had a lower percentage in being re-elected than Charlie did. But interestingly, 62% of people in Massachusetts don't want Elizabeth Warren to be president. Why is that? Well, look at the contrast between the two. Charlie Baker comes from a tradition that Bill Weld started, those that remember him. He was a classmate of mine back in the day at Harvard. He was number one. That's no easy feat because there were Nobel Prize winners behind him, and obviously brilliant people. He could speak 7 or 8 languages, had a lucid mind, and his idea about being governor was to stay off the front page, to do the job, not get on the front page. The only times I remember him on the front page is when people questioned him about the Charles River really being cleaned up and really being swimmable, and he dove in the Charles River with his suit on. People loved it. The other time that was memorable is when he did a wonderful thing. There was a toll booth that was extraneous, unimportant, and it was to the side of 128.95. It would have taken years and millions of dollars to get all the EPA and other approvals to knock it down. So he went out at midnight, got on the bulldozer, and knocked it down. Interestingly, the complainers in the Boston Globe and elsewhere complained about it, but the populace loved it. It was a simple solution, got rid of the toll booth, people stopped paying money, and that was that. Those were the two examples. Charlie Baker worked for him. And Charlie Baker went to Harvard Business School, where I went back in the day, and learned how to be a fixer. And he had this incredible gift of doing so, and he went into the medical profession doing that. And when I was at business school, even back when I was, the worst job considered was to go into medical work or hospitals because it was so complex and difficult. It wasn't the people were bad or anything like that. It was darn hard. And if you want to know the best insight, look at the movie The Hospital with George C. Scott, done in 1969. One of my favorite moments is the medical people had enough, they walked out. Well, then they realized who's going to do the work, they walked back in. I'm sure Charlie saw the movie and from that learned a lot, and he did that. He worked for Weld, and Weld took Massachusetts, as then known, number 13th in taxes in the United States for states, and took it down to number 38, $50 at a time. And what he said was, when the legislature said, well, it's only $50 a family, Bill Weld said, well, families in Massachusetts can go once a year to dinner, or they can spend this $50. What do you think? So he did that, and it was incremental. Charlie Baker has done the same thing. In Massachusetts, he stayed off the front page. He's been popular. He doesn't quite have Weld's 70%, but he's up at 65% voting for him. He certainly has the biggest difference between favorables and unfavorables of any governor in the United States. Now, the other thing about him is, so what does he do? Well, the Boston Globe complains about just about everything. Mark Twain would have loved them because he would have said that there's some people that are so difficult, they complain about the number of toads in their coal. Well, that's kind of the Globe. They used to complain about the tolls, and everybody got upset, and there were lots of conversations about it. But then Massachusetts automated the tolls. Now, this was a cooperative effort, the legislature, the governors, and so forth. And recently it was done, and then it was automated. You didn't even see the darn things. You just drive and they charge you. And of course, most of us who complained about it are now embarrassed because it was a small amount of money. The point was, Charlie understands that that kind of thing, which he refers to, is the kind of thing citizens don't like, to be aggravated. We all know we have to pay taxes, but don't aggravate us, make us stop through our quarters, all the rest of it, and take our money. If you automate it, well, most people understand that we got to pay taxes one way or the other. And of course, the automation saves the state 26%, no small number. And if we were going to pay those quarters, well, my goodness, the state ought to get it. So it's all been done. Charlie has done that. And when you're looking at the election for 2020, think about that approach for a president. Less is more. Charlie has just fixed the railroads in Massachusetts. I'm on the commuter rail, and it's splendid. There was a big problem, so he bought $66 million worth of new locomotives. Well, that's a lot, but not in our overall budget. That fixed part of the problem. The other thing is he started to fix the tracks. Then he cleaned up the stations. All done now. And, of course, the morale on the railroad's good among the workers, good among the riders. It's very nice. So the point is, isn't that kind of what we want? Well, we've had a problem in Boston on the T, and he's doing the same thing with the Red Line, which is the big line, and it's going to be finished in 2 years. Now, 2 years is a while, but it's not forever. And the Globe, of course, is complaining it's not faster, better, this or that. But the point is, it is being done. Think about that when voting for someone. And one of the things that Trump has done of late is he's simplified his message. Peace and prosperity. Don't get involved in other countries. Don't get involved in all that stuff. And we've done a pretty good job of not doing it. And look for a Democrat like that. Not that the values are different, but just somebody that less is more, helping people get things done. Look for a candidate that does that. Charlie does it, and we respect him, and we vote for him. But just as interesting is Elizabeth Warren, we don't trust because 62% of us don't like her. Thank you from Simply, and consider that. And remember, once again, we just present ideas. We're not telling you what to do. You want to vote for Elizabeth Warren? Do so. The point is, consider the other side. It's like turning the chessboard around. That's what we try to do. Thank you.